Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to all my devious Dynasty degenerates out there in the lovely fantasy verse. It's good to see you tonight. This season is finally underway, and we're pumped. And we were treated to actually a pretty good opening week. I'm excited about it. I don't know if you can tell or not, but we have a good show planned for you tonight as we are here at Dynasty 365. We don't take the regular season off like we do Dynasty year round because that's what it's all about. So tonight, we're going to discuss the dynasty implications from like what happened in week one. And we're going to kind of tell you like what we like to do in season, like some of our strategies. So buckle up and let's prepare for a fantastic season. But before we get into all that, as you all know, today marks the anniversary of September 11th, 2001. It's a day of great tragedy, but yet resilience. And we honor the memory of those we lost. And we thank the first responders who risked everything. Our thoughts are with everyone who has been affected, and we would like to honor everybody now with the moment of silence. Thank you for that moment of silence. And in that faith, this episode is dedicated to all the heroes of 9/11, to the survivors, and to the loved ones that were left behind. In their memory, we continue to unite as community, whether it's through sports or real life. And Rich, if you can do me a favor with this dedication, would you proudly press that tribute button? Because we too will never forget. That's awesome. Still touching even all these years later. And because
Absolutely.
community, like we said, is strong in life, we're also going to be strong in fantasy. And with that, Rich, we got to keep playing. So let's get started. Rich, do me a favor. Hit that intro.
Here we go.
Hello, hello, hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dynasty 365 here on Fantasy in Frames Wednesday. I'd like to welcome everybody who is tuning in on YouTube or whether you're listening to us via podcast. Tonight, as I said, it's going to be a great show. Hanging with Rich and I, we're always going to have a lot of fun. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Remember
Absolutely.
to post your comments, your questions, or whatever in the chat. You can tweet us. You can even put in trade questions in the chat. Throw those in. Like, we'll respond as we can. And just want everybody to just have a good old time with us. So thank you for joining us. Rich, my partner in crime, it is so good to see you tonight. And Rich, before I'm going to let you speak in a second, but before I do that, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gingerbeard Man. Happy birthday to you, Rich Stickles. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, no, another trip around the sun. That's a great photo. But I was wondering what that photo was. I was like, what is that?
That was you killing it karaoke at the expo.
Yeah.
Rich, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Like you said, it's my birthday, so just kind of it was a normal day. Had some work, got ready for the show tonight, and but everybody was showing me love. It was pretty great. I just love getting all the love and the well wishes.
That's awesome, man. You deserve it. Like you say, another lap around the sun, man. So that is awesome. I'm glad that we could hang out tonight and I could actually serenade you in person, like getting happy birthday from Jorge and Albert. And Albert, again, as always, man, thanks for joining us tonight. It is good to see you. All right. So, and I think we stunned Rich so much that,
I'm back.
that he froze for a little bit. But hey, he's back. He's back. Rich, you're getting birthday love in the chat. So everybody just wants to share that love with you, man. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Albert. Appreciate that, Jorge. Appreciate it.
all right.
Awesome.
All right, so guys, like I said, we're gonna have a good show tonight. So, Rich, we might as well just go ahead and just get into that first topic, which news and nuggets from around the league. Right, week 1 is in the books. We are a day away from week 2, and it already feels like this season is moving too fast.
Right.
But it's been great. So I'm going to get a little bit out of order right here, Rich. But I'm going to ask you right now, birthday boy, what was your favorite part of opening week?
Ooh, my favorite. I had to go back and forth on this a couple times because there's so much that I loved. Just being back in it and everything was so great. But my favorite part goes back to last week when we had our show and we were talking about who our favorite rookies were going to be for each position. And I said my favorite rookie wide receiver was going to be Xavier Worthy.
I remember that.
And he scored 2 touchdowns to start off the season. It was only 3 touches, so, I can't really get that excited, but I was still excited. I don't care. It was blown coverage, but I don't care. It was still exciting. I'm still victory lapping over that. That was so great.
You know what? I will allow it. He did score those touchdowns, and he looked so electric while he was doing it.
Yep.
So the end around, blazing speed, everybody knew he was fast.
Yep.
The broken
great play call.
It was a great play call. And you say like the second touchdown. Yes, it was broken coverage and everything, but MVS wouldn't have caught
that. There's that. That.
You can feel good about that. I just hope, and it's just felt so funny because I was going to Twitter just watching everybody lose their minds, and I wanted to rain on the parade a little bit, but I didn't because I'm a positive and nice guy. I just laugh at chaos, and I just wanted to ask everybody, Sammy Watkins used to ball on week 1 every year also. I was like, is he on the Sammy Watkins trajectory?
All right.
I didn't say that. For me, I just love, like you said, seeing all the teams back in action. There's real football. Football is now the national focus, until February because it is king when it is actually on there and it's happening. So that's great as well. All right, so back to some of the news and notes. So week 1 injuries. Some injuries of note: Jordan Love, Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey actually, missed the game. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert. There's a lot of injuries that are piling up a little bit. So how do you feel about these injuries? Are you scared, worried, what?
I'm a little worried about a couple of them. Christian McCaffrey, I'm a little bit worried about. I immediately went online when they started talking about Achilles issues, and I was looking up what Achilles tendonitis and what the recovery time is on something like that, and it was saying something like 6 to 8 weeks. And I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, well, no, he's been dealing with this for most of the off season already, so he should be on the back end of it. I think I'm not an injury guru. I'll be honest, so I really can't speak to it that much. But there is a question of how long is he going to be out, and so as far as he goes, I'm worried because he was the 101 for so many people, myself included. I was trading for him where I could, and now that he is down and he's unlikely for this next week, in leagues where I'm probably not competing, I'm trying to trade him where I can to try to recoup some of my value. So I actually just traded him this morning for a early first, early second, and Hendon Hooker, just as a throw-in. So
okay, yeah.
Yep.
So I have him in one league. It's actually one of the leagues from the Expo, the Lawrence Taylor division.
Oh yeah,
I took him 101, and I really wasn't going to take him 101 in that league. And I remember I was just sitting there talking to my buddy Matt Record, and he was like, because he was a 102, and he's like, I feel like I got to think of the 102 because the 101's obviously taken. And I was like, oh, is that an obvious pick? And I kind of wish that I hadn't. And I don't feel bad about it because I've been slowly getting off the CMC train. last year, I was like, I'm kind of going to move off, not because I didn't believe in his ability or what he could bring to the table. It's just that I never want to be holding the bag when the running backs fall off the cliff. And if you look at how many touches he has had in his career, the kid is an absolute workhorse. He is a beast. He is a stud. I mean, give him his gold jacket right now because he is absolutely phenomenal. And I'll just tell you this, like, I had Achilles tendonitis the beginning of the year, like January. And I wasn't good until like April, and it hurt. Like, I could barely walk. So these like pro athletes are superhuman. Like the stuff that, like they're coming back in a week or two from, like regular humans aren't coming back from it that fast. Like I know how painful that is. And if he was a game time decision with that, like I am even more impressed with him because that's absolutely amazing. So
absolutely.
Hope he gets back quickly. But Jordan Love, are you so confident in the Packers that you think Malik Willis is going to be an adequate replacement, or are you a little worried about this?
I'm worried about it. I'm downgrading everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, like all the receivers are going to be taking a hit, and I think because the receivers are going to be taking a hit, Jacobs is going to get leaned on a little bit more, but he's going to be dealing with a lot more 8-man in the box and stuff like that. So I really, Jorge, I see you. No, I do think. I mean, Love will be back before too long. I don't think it's going to hold him out that long. I do think that we don't see him until maybe week 5, so it's going to be a few weeks. And where you can, there's a few leagues that Malik Willis was available on waivers this week. Like,
a few.
Pick him up if you can. Like, I mean, you might as well. He might not be great, but he's probably going to be a lot better than whatever you had sitting back there. So,
okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, like for me, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I need to know who's behind Malik Willis because. Although
Ryan Tannehill.
I mean, they need to get on the phone with Cleveland and try to get Jameis, but
right.
going there, I don't know if they want to get rid of the best quarterback on their team. That's what Tyler Howell like. So he's like, yeah, we can't trade our best quarterback. All right. So before we get into like our next segment or whatever, just want to share with you guys. So Dynasty 365 with Stacey Perez and Tyler Howell actually drafted a team of the FFPC, and here are the standings because our team but we were killing it until like the later games where we moved from number 1 overall. So we're like currently number 3 in the standings. We did win, and it's kind of surprising. So, Tommy, because Tommy was on when we actually were going over that show. So, Tommy Blair, if you're watching right now, like, hey, man, we're victory lapping right now because it's week 1 and we don't know what the rest of the season is going to hold, but here we are. So, just wanted to keep you guys up to date with that Dynasty team that we picked up, that orphan. And so, we're moving on. All right, Rich. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the show, whatever. Like we're going to go into like our second topic of the night, and it's just the Dynasty impact of week 1. So what we're going to do, like we're just trying to let people understand like what storylines that we feel that we really need to pay more attention to, or if there's just something that everybody's jumping on that we're like, that's just a whole lot of noise. Don't pay attention to that. So I'm going to start with you, Rich. What was your biggest takeaway from excuse me. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You make it?
Yeah, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right. But what was your biggest takeaway from week 1? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, biggest takeaway for me, honestly, was that there's rust everywhere. I don't know if it's because guys aren't really playing in the preseason as much anymore, but I mean, Falcons didn't look great. Giants look awful. And I'd say it's something going up against the Vikings. Broncos, all right. Bears, not so good. At least their defense showed up. Like they definitely had some issues. So I think that there's just a lot of rust. I don't think teams will be nearly as sloppy though. I think things will progress, things will start to get better. You just got to give it some time. This first week is going to be a little bit rough, but I do believe Caleb Williams is going to figure it out. I think the Giants will bounce back and have at least a respectable game and won't look like a bunch of high schoolers out there. Like, I think it'll get good. So I have in my notes, Tom Hanks, just wait, GIF, just wait. It'll get better.
You're right.
How about you?
So I agree with you saying, like, clearly there was a lot of rust. And the biggest thing that takeaway that I got from week 1 is that the NFL is in the process. We're going through like a transition. The old guard is slowly being ushered out. And the new superstars are emerging. And that is both players as well as coaches, because you look at from the old guard with the Belichicks and, those guys, and even like Sean Payton right now. Like, you look at Sean Payton and how he coaches and manages his team. It seems like he has not progressed with the new NFL. And that's why his success is nowhere near what people were thinking, so that's changing. But we're also starting to see new superstars start to emerge, because with the advancements in medicine and health, seeing that these players are actually playing deeper into their career. Like, Aaron Rodgers, he's turning 43 this season, I believe. And like before him, like, what were they, only Morton Anderson and a couple other guys that actually were in their 40s still playing, and he's playing at a high level still. But so we're seeing like we're shifting away from that. But then you look at these stud wide receivers that are like taking over the league. You got the Jeffersons and the Chases and, everything. You look at what Tyreek's doing, like it's a speed demon game and everything. So they're moving away from the hog mollies up front and, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and now they are just speed, airing it out and like actually getting creative. The coaching staff are younger. Like now, you're not seeing like the 75-year-old guys coaching teams anymore. Now you're seeing a lot of 30, 40 somethings that are innovative and they're like bringing new stuff to the NFL. So I think that's good to see. And that kind of like transitions me into like our next talking point, which is like, what situations in the week have you worried? I mean, like from week 1, actually, have you worried about the season? And I'll go ahead and like start first with that. Like for me, there's not a whole lot that I saw that really has me like worried in terms of stats or anything like that, because week 1, always weird. Weird stuff happens in week 1. And even more so now that they cut down to 3 preseason games and starters don't really play in the preseason. So it goes back to your original point, like earlier in the show, where you was like, there's a lot of rust. Of course, there's a lot of rust because these guys have not been like playing real football at real game speed for a long time. So yeah, they got to work some of that out, but it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And, as the teams gel together, like offensive lines are going to be working better together. Defenses are going to understand their assignments and everything. So they'll be better. And we will see a whole lot of different things. For the most part, anything that you felt coming into the season, week 1 shouldn't change your mind. Like if you're thinking that all these people are, great and this is what's going to happen, week 1 shouldn't change your mind. Now you should see what happens in week 1, pay attention to it. And then if you see the same things in week 2 and 3, then okay, yeah, that's a trend. So now you need to pivot. So be conscious of it, but don't do anything crazy just because of it. I saw somebody trade DK Metcalf for Jordan Mason. And I was sitting there and out straight up and I was like, wow. And they're not even a CMC owner. And I was like, okay.
Was this in a Dynasty league?
Yes, it was in a Dynasty league. But I'm like, not even a CMC owner. So what are you thinking? Just because you looked at week 1, all right, but you didn't pay attention to week 1. DK got the Patrick Surtain treatment, so we shouldn't have expected DK to go off because he's going against one of the premier corners in the league anyway. Jordan Mason got to play because one of the best running backs we have seen since Marshall Faulk, like was a game time decision and didn't play. Jordan Mason is not supplanting Christian McCaffrey. You know what I'm saying? So making that trade was, I'm like, what do you, but anyhow, but the things you do pay attention to, it kind of goes to like what Steve has said. Like you look at Cousins, his inability to plant. Like it was obvious him trying to throw off that foot. Like he couldn't like drive and make his throws. And also even Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. Like I mentioned it before, like Rodgers, he's big on his little mobility. Like he's sneaky mobile. He'll get out the pocket. He'll get you a couple yards to get you that upside of rushing. But watching him in that Monday night game, it doesn't seem like he's got that juice, like so much. And I don't know if it's so much a factor of age or the fact that he was coming off a horrific injury last year also. But the explosiveness is not there. So now that I've talked so much, I'm going to ask you, what situations have you worried after week 1?
Actually, that kind of fits right in with what my worry is Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I was really nervous about. Well, I went into the season not expecting to be too nervous, and then once I saw Cousins out there and how he was throwing, I mean, he was 16 of 26, only 155 yards. Like that, that is not Cousins-esque. Like he's better than that, and so it's a question of how long is it going to take for him to get back to there, or is he going to get back there at all? I do think it's a question of how long, not if. So they're like you're saying, don't panic on these guys, but there's definitely some concerns there. And we'll see how next week goes. I mean, Pitts only had 3 targets for 26 yards and a touchdown. Thank goodness for the touchdown, at least. London only had 3 targets as well for 15 yards. And he was going top of the second round in some drafts. There's a lot of expectations going into this with Cousins going there. And I think people will, I already heard people calling for him to be benched for Penix, and maybe that's what needs to happen until Cousins is fully healthy. I don't think that that's the right call, but I could see why people are saying that, like, just because if Cousins can't throw the ball, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But on this one, I had not good, Bob. .gif. Not good, Bob. I got a gift for each of these.
I love it. We need to start showing these to the YouTube audience. Like your gift game is strong, Rich. You got to share it with the people. Everybody wants to see it. And so, Rich, another thing that I know people want to see, and we're just going to pivot a little bit from the show sheet. People are going to want to see this. Week 1, like our back.
Right.
Are you going?
That was almost what I was the most worried about. I almost put that in there as being the thing that I am the most worried about. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. So we want the people to be able to see this. So for those listening, right now we have a graphic on the screen. It's this or that, because if you're paying attention earlier in the offseason, Rich and I entered into a pie bet on who's going to have a better season, whether it's going to be Khalil Shakir or if it's going to be Curtis Samuel. I said Shakir. Rich said he said Samuel. So we're just going to keep a running graphic as we go through the week. So right now, Rich, we're going to talk a little bit about stats. So Curtis Samuel, he went 2 for 2 for 15 yards. He really lit it up, giving you that whopping 3.5 points per game. He has 3.5 points per game because he's only played 1. Not going to be that bad. I know he's going to do better than that. That's just, again, week 1's weird. Don't put all your eggs on week 1. But Shakir, he didn't do a whole lot better. He just went 3 for 3 for 42 yards. So he had more yardage, but he did catch that touchdown.
He got that touchdown, yeah.
A little bit. So right now, I'm not feeling really good either way, but it's too close to call. But anyhow,
you got a little cushion. Let's be real. You definitely got a little cushion going on for you. So
I feel like I need a cushion, but so that's all right. Rich, the people were asking, so we got to give them what they want.
That's right.
So, Rich, let me ask you this: so, what situations after week 1, like, what has you most excited looking for the rest of the season?
Sure. So, actually, one of the things that I'm most excited about. Little different, going off a little script from my NFC North here, but sticking with the NFC, Tampa Bay Bucks, they looked so good. Baker was QB2 last week. He was 24 of 30, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. Mike Evans looked like the Hall of Famer that he's going to be. Yes, he will be a Hall of Famer in my opinion.
I agree.
6 targets, 5 receptions, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, he was lighting it up like he usually does. The one that I loved the most, though, was Godwin.
Okay.
8 for 8, 83 yards and a touchdown. My gift for this one is the Harry Potter. He's back. That gif. Like, he's back, baby. And I'm so excited. I love Godwin. I really do. And I'm happy that he's back. And the people that got him for cheap like they did in the offseason, because he hasn't been costing people very much to get him. I've been trying to get him in throw-ins in all my trade deals, and it's been working for me in some of them. So yeah, no, I'm excited about that for sure.
That's awesome. That is a good reason to be excited. So I'm gonna stay in the NFC, but I'm gonna go up north. To the NFC North, not NFC.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me, the NFC East, and I'm gonna talk about. I am most excited to watch Jaden Daniels play NFL football,
Oh,
mainly
yeah.
because I watch him play. So he's electric, and it's exciting. So it has nothing to do with his talent or anything like that. I'm just blown away by the fact that this grown man doesn't know how to slide. And it's not even not know how to slide. He doesn't know how to protect himself at all. So I'm watching this game and he's running. And so you have these linebackers coming at you, like ready to so you're about to be a mini car crash. And instead of him just getting down, protecting your head like most people do, like instincts take over, he's stumbling forward. And I'm like, what is he doing? And then the announcers, I guess they know, they're like, yeah, he's not real comfortable with the slide. And I'm like,
you better get comfortable.
He better get comfortable. Even with that, so watching him play, it was great. But I've seen him take way too many hits, even with his inability to get down and protect himself. I mean, he's tough. He pops back up, but your career's not going to be long if you are taking just full-fledged licks like that. I'm like, it reminded me of his college tape. Jaden, protect yourself, man. Your body is your livelihood right now. So
right.
Don't expedite that retirement. Just do what you got to do, man.
So I gotta going off script a little bit here. I got a trade question for you because I almost made a trade. I almost got it to work, and unfortunately it fell through. But I wanted to see what you thought. So Justin Jefferson or Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and an early first next year.
Whoo! Wow! I got to take the pieces. I got to take. I mean, I love Jefferson, but I'm gonna Daniels and Neighbors. Okay, yeah, I'm taking that because you get an early first. Malik Neighbors, I think Malik Neighbors is going to be one of the next studs in the league. I know that when coming out, Marvin Harrison got all the accolades because Marvin Harrison is a phenomenal talent. He really is.
Yeah.
But when I look at what Neighbors does, I'm like, I think that he's going to come out and he's really going to surprise some people. I think a lot of people didn't pay so much attention just because of how big Marvin Harrison Jr. was. So, yeah, I got to take those pieces just because I kind of believe that Jaden Daniels, if he remains healthy, he is going to put up points just because his running ability is just raising his floor. So he's going to be, you get an early first, you can leverage that for more stuff as well. Jefferson is phenomenal. And the only reason why I'll be moving on from Jefferson right now, because I'm getting that haul, and Jefferson QB limbo right now, I think he's quarterback proof. But if Sam Darnold becomes the Sam Darnold from the New York Jets days, or JJ McCarthy comes in and he's more Zach Wilson than he is Aaron Rodgers, then maybe that's the thing.
Baker Mayfield. Right.
Yeah, well, it depends on which Baker. Baker's had a roller Baker been everything.
Right. Yeah. To Steven, to your question, it was rebuilding. I'm rebuilding it right now. I have Jefferson. I had CMC, just traded him away like we were talking about a little bit earlier. And I was looking to move on from Jefferson as well. But unfortunately did not get the other guy to pull that trigger. So I was hoping I could get – it's a super flex too. So I was really hoping that I could get Daniels and Neighbors in that first. But
hey, man, shoot or shoot.
maybe now that I got that first and second from Christian McCaffrey, maybe I'll go see if I can sweeten the pot.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's awesome. So we're going to move – I am really struggling with this cough right now. Every time I try to talk, it tickles my throat and makes me laugh. I've never been ticklish from a cough, but it's crazy. But anyhow, we're going to work through it. Just like CMC, I'm working through the questionable tag. But the next question, so Rich, is going to be so which players, if any, have moved on to your dynasty radar? And I'll answer, for me, Keon Coleman has moved on to my radar. And he wasn't there at first just because I'm team Shakir, Shakir all the way. But when you look at that game, and this is one of the things that I think you should pay attention to versus stat line so much, you just want to pay attention to what the teams do. The teams will tell you what's going to happen. if coaches aren't playing somebody, there's a reason coaches aren't playing somebody, regardless of how much the fantasy community wants them to be a stud. Like, think of how many times the fantasy community is like, oh my gosh, why is King and Drake playing behind XYZ? Drake's so much better, and Drake never really got to play, but he gets to the Dolphins and he was absolute trash. That's why he didn't play. Anyhow, I digress. Keon Coleman right now. I mean, his stats weren't phenomenal, but he had a 21% target share. Like, that is pretty huge for a rookie to come on like a team that has a pretty potent offense. Like, I was looking at that, I was like, oh, maybe I need to pay attention a little bit to what he's doing or whatever. So he's moved on to my radar, and I think he's somebody that I could actually kind of get, especially when somebody's on tilt, and, because I like to, take advantage of people on tilt. So have him in as a throw in to something else, where they're like, go whatever, then I'm stacking my guys that I'm looking forward to, that what might happen in the future, because so much for me, it's not what has to happen right now. I'm looking towards that future. So that's for me. What about you? Like, is there any player that wasn't on your radar that is now?
Well, real quick, just wanted to touch on that too. The one thing that I think we're both going to be struggling with this year with the Bills, with our little pie bet. If there's one of the things that I was going to put on here, my biggest takeaway was that Josh Allen is just going to do it himself this year. I don't think that there might be games where he just doesn't care about what else is around him. He's going to be the one running it. Mm-hmm. He's Superman out there. He's Superman. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about the rest of the Bills receiving game just because of that. But we'll see. There's a lot of season left. But no, as far as to your question, dynasty player on my radar now, Jameson Williams. I was big on Jameson Williams when he was coming out, and then after the last 2 years, his rookie and sophomore years, I kind of fell off. I lost the faith, and I'm kicking myself that I did, because he looked real good, and it looks like the Lions are expecting big things from him. Those 9 targets. He only had 5 receptions, which that worries me a little bit. I didn't exactly get to watch the whole game, so I'm not sure where those 4 misses came from. If that was on him, or if that was on Goff, or if it was just good defense in general. But those 9 targets, those had me feeling pretty good about him. 121 yards, touchdown, best performance that I can remember him having. And so like I said, I'm kicking myself that I lost the faith, and I'm trying to see if I can get him in. I was trying to get him in the CMC deal, and I almost got the guy to pull the trigger on that, but no, he only wanted Hendon Hooker. So
okay, so just to piggyback off that a little bit, so with JMO, are you just trying to acquire him just in case it does happen, or you actually really see him like inserting himself and cutting into Amon-Ra a little bit, like? It's just a feeling, or are you just like, oh, I see the writing on the wall?
No, I think that they're going to complement each other. I think Jameson's going to do his own thing. I do think that, with those 9 targets, I think that the Lions were sending a message that they really are going to try to get him involved more in the game than what they have in the past. Mm-hmm. I think he must have done something to show them that he's their guy, and that, he's exactly the weapon that they've been missing to be that complementary piece next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, I'm not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown at all, if you're wondering about that, because he's the sun god. He's going to be fine. The last week was a down week, but he'll figure it out. He's going to get his. But but no, I'm trying to. I think that Jameson Williams, whether it's going to be here or if he moves on someplace else, I think that he finally figured out whatever it was that he was doing wrong in the offseason, and he's turning it around.
Yeah, he spent too much time gambling instead of practicing. Too soon?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's in the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the locker room like, I want to be like Calvin Ridley when I grew up.
Who doesn't?
But anyhow, so excuse me. I like your pick of Jameson Williams. I like everything that you have to say about it. And normally I would agree with you. So I'm not disagreeing with you. Let's just clear this up. I'm not disagreeing with you. The only pause that I have from what you're saying is that Amon-Ra St. Brown, like you said, is the sun god, right? So ever since Amon-Ra has been in the league, Have you realized what has happened to every other pass catcher on the team except for Laporta?
Just kind of faded into nothing.
Hawkinson, injured, traded. Cephas, injured and never became anything. Reynolds, hurt. Like, who else? Everybody who has been on that team has hurt. When Marvin Jones comes back, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna have a resurgence in my career. He catches the pass, Sun God does his thing, hurt. The only person that has been healthy the entire time that catches passes in Detroit since he's been there is him. I'm not saying it's conspiracy or anything. I'm just saying that, like when he came in and he was saying that, I'm mad because those 13 wide receivers were taken in front of me. Like, he's serious, and he just took it out on his teammates because nobody can stay healthy but him. But so Jameson, I mean, like, good luck. It's like the Madden curse. It doesn't mean a whole lot, but
right.
Good luck. All right, Rich, so we're going to move on to segment 3. We're going to be talking about like our in-season strategies. And this right here is just kind of like, we're just talking, a little bit about what we do in season or how we maneuver in like our dynasty. And I know there's different phases of a dynasty, and there's also like you're in different like segments, whether you're rebuilding or whether you're a contender or whether you're kind of neutral. Depending on what phase you are, like, you're probably going to do something a little different. I'll go first and just talk about like one of the biggest things that I like to do in season is roster churning. So I've made a lot of moves during the off season. Excuse me. I was trading, scouting the rookies, and doing all that stuff. So now we've gotten to the point in Dynasty where a lot of Dynasty leagues kind of get a little stagnant because people like, oh, I want to hold on to my guy just in case something happens. Or they try to sell you like what they know is trash for, your up and coming player, which you're like, no, like kick rocks. But for me, so while they're doing that, playing, these games that aren't going to be very fruitful for them, asking you for TK Metcalf or Jordan Mason, although I guess it does work every now and then. What I am doing is looking at teams that I want to be invested in, right? So I look at a team like the San Francisco 49ers. I see the Christian McCaffrey, like his age, he's getting up there. I see that he's kind of injured right now. So Jordan Mason is the hot commodity. Everybody wants a little bit of Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is too expensive for me right now. I'm looking at a team that has an established run game because I want the run game. It doesn't care. I don't care what the player is. In that offense, the running back will be successful. Everybody but Trey Sermon, who's gotten their chance, has been successful in that offense. So I want a piece of that offense. So like someone like Izzy Guerrero, he's not even nobody's top of mind anymore because they're worried about all the kind of stuff that doesn't really matter so much. So I'm trying to acquire him so I can have him on my team. So then if it does come to a situation, let's say McCaffrey misses like next week, and then he might miss some time down the future, like not wishing anything on him. But if that happens, and then Jordan Mason, he goes down also. All right, whoever's coming up next, like just having that piece and they have a big week, then I am flipping them as soon as possible for assets because I am trying to accrue as many assets as I can during the season just so I can make all the maneuvers that I want to make off season. So I'm trying to acquire currency while people are buying and trading spent commodities where they're never going to get their return on investment.
Right.
So that's kind of how I like to go into it. And another thing that I like to do to help me with this roster churning is waiver wires. So I'm not huge on the waiver wires in Dynasty because rosters are generally so deep.
Super deep. Yeah.
So what I'm doing is watching all these people who are very high into waivers in Dynasty. I'm looking at the players they're dropping. I don't care about the waiver wire, but I'm caring about like who's dropped. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, let me put a claim on this guy who just got dropped. Let me put a claim on this guy that just dropped. So then I can have them on my team. So then if they have a path to production, then I already have them on my team. And then, hey, yeah, let's talk. And then I'm actually making moves, or I have them added to a deal to help me get something that I'm looking for. So that's kind of where I am, like in season. I am always active. I am making 9 million transactions. Like I'll make trades if the trade makes sense. But for me, I am trying to churn the bottom of my roster just as we're going around, because you never know what's going to happen, especially with running backs in dynasties, because so many of them get a chance to play. And if I have somebody in my league that always likes the flavor of the week, like, oh my gosh, I got to give you this productive veteran for this guy that nobody knew who their name was a couple weeks ago, then so be it. And case in point, last year, I didn't scoop him up free agency or whatever, but I did get him like right after the draft was over and, everybody goes to waivers. Then I picked him up. You may have heard of him, Puka Nacua. And he had a pretty good season because my whole thing, I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, all right, Stafford, he's coming there. He's got something to prove if he stays healthy. I'm like, Cup is going to have a running mate. Did not. Let me be crystal clear. I did not expect Puka Nacua to do what he did last year.
Right.
I'm just like, all right, he might be somebody that can actually have flex appeal every now and then. And then I can trade him to somebody, blah, blah, blah. But then he came out and just went gangbusters. Like, awesome. Speaking of him, Nacua, I can't believe we didn't talk about this, Rich. So he landed on the IR with that PCL strain or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you, and we're going off show sheet a little bit, so we'll get your answer in a second. We got to talk about Puka. I can't believe I forgot about Puka. I'm sorry. We'll go to breakfast. But so two-part questions. So with Puka going on the shelf for a little bit, are you worried about him coming back like with that knee because it's the same injury that he was kind of dealing with in the offseason, in the preseason? And do you think that Cup is going to continue to be an absolute target monster without him, or you think he'll still be the same with him? So how do you
feel? So to the first part, yeah, I mean, knees are always a concern, right? I mean, doesn't matter what position you play, your knees are kind of important. And so, yeah, I am a little bit worried about what we're going to see from Puka when he comes back. I really hope that they don't rush him back. But depending on how things are looking because he's on IR now, right? So it's 4 weeks. Yeah. So depending on how their season is going, they might feel the need that they need to get him back sooner. He might feel the need to come back sooner. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope they're and to this goes into your second part of your question. As far as Cooper Kupp goes, I think the Kupp is going to be. He was going to get his targets as long as he stays healthy. Is what it's going to come down to. Like Kupp is a major part of that offense when he's on the field, regardless of what's going on. Otherwise, he is so good. There's nothing else that can really be said about it. You look at his numbers that he puts up. You look at that monster year that he put up in what was that 2021, 2022, and he's got it. He knows what he's doing. Stafford loves him. Stafford trusts him. You look at the them going to breakfast together and everything like that. Yeah, I do think the Kupp will be just fine as long as he can stay on the field. That's the question: is are they going to be able to keep? And this kind of goes to just the Rams in general. Are they going to be able to keep Kupp healthy long enough for Puka to come back and be able to be that complementary role,
right? Or
what exactly right now? So. Yeah, it's interesting, man. I did not expect him to go on IR. When I saw that, my mouth dropped.
Yeah,
I was like, oh no,
I hate it. And in redrafts and stuff like that, I didn't draft Puka mainly because his price. So there was a couple of players going when I know it's a Dynasty show, but even startup dynasties, so Puka, he's being drafted right at the turn. I didn't draft him. I didn't draft Achan mainly because those two guys, there's so much hype and everything. And the talent that they possess, unquestionable, absolutely phenomenal. But for the price that you had to pay for them, I was just out because of that price. And again, I don't know how we got on this injury kick, but Achan, so he has a mild, mid ankle, mild high ankle sprain. And my main reason I didn't want to pay that price because in my first 2 rounds, I am trying to be as conservative as possible. I'm not risk adverse in, those first 2 rounds. And with Achan, I've said it before, we've said it, you heard me in this offseason, he's a walking injury designation. I don't think he's ever been healthy, for a whole week in life, and Sunday. So I'm watching the game and I'm like, he is absolutely like, he is so phenomenal in what he does. I'm like, that is great. And then like people who I've talked to about it, they're like, oh yeah, H-An, he's terrible. I'm like, first of all, I never said the guy was bad. I'm said that I'm not drafting the guy. And they're like, well, isn't it the same thing? I'm like, no, I'm not drafting him just because I don't want to, deal with that. So they say that, some rest and all that stuff will be good. But after that game Sunday, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I think this is the first time that H-An has made it completely through and he wasn't in and out of the game, like dealing with some type of nick or whatever. And like Steve says, he thinks he was back at practice today. They said he needs some rest. So it's going to be a game time decision. And I'm hoping that they rest him because I feel like you're running the risk of making it worse. Like I also have had a high ankle sprain. And I wouldn't be playing, but I'm not a superstar professional athlete either.
Right,
I'm not a superhuman. But it's just, he's one of those guys that I would much rather miss and I'm be happy with the miss and sleep like a baby than to be worried every week if this is going to be the week where McDaniel's going to be like, oh, sit down for the second half because of whatever or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Because he just can't stay on the field. It's
and it's not even, it's that price. That price was so high for him. It's like everybody saw what he did last year, and that's price skyrocketed, and it became too rich for my blood too. Like I'm with you there. Like I again, we're talking redraft here, so not dynasty, but my home league, it was on ESPN, and I found that when you're doing your rankings, you can actually just take a guy all the way out. And he was the only guy that I took out because I was just like, I'm not even gonna. I know that one, he's not gonna fall. There's gonna be somebody in my league that's gonna pick him up, and he didn't. So
I mean, and the price for him, you're absolutely like, it's just the price was just way too much than I was willing to risk just because with my top tier picks, I don't want to be worried, as I look at that league that I drafted CMC. I went against my own rule right there. And I was like, CMC just because, and then CMC, like he doesn't play. And that whole thing was kind of weird also, with, I think so many people in the fantasy community are misconstruing kind of like Jordan Mason's whole thing about him, so like, all right, the way Jordan semantics, we knew that Christian McCaffrey was kind of nicked up and he's banged up in the preseason. We knew it. It's no surprise that he was dealing with like some type of injury management and he had the questionable tag, right? If a coach goes to a player and it's like, hey, you be ready, you might play a lot, because like what's going to happen. Like, that's not saying that, oh, Christian's not going to play. Like, no. Kyle Shanahan is like, I want this guy to play, but also I'm going to give him a little bit of confidence and to think that be ready, because you might get more touches than you normally would. So instead of your 7 touches, we're going to touch the ball a little bit more. So, but people, they just hang on to stuff that's just so crazy and they just freak all the way out. And then like, oh my God, this is worse. Like Christian McCaffrey is never going to play football again. Like I'm listening to like people talking, the way they're talking is like Christian McCaffrey is out till like week 8, okay. So he might not play week 2. Okay. Big deal. But I guarantee at the end of the season, if he plays what everybody thinks he's going to play, then he's going to be kind of where he is. But anyhow, Rich.
Yeah.
Back to you, sir.
Back to me.
So in season for dynasties, like we know kind of like injuries, they happen. But for you, like what is kind of like a strategy that you do in season? Like how do you manage your teams?
Sure. So it really varies depending on my team. If I'm and I mean, this changes throughout the year, of course, because some leagues you are contending right out the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Some leagues you're kind of in the middle, and some leagues that you're out right away. So the league that I traded away Christian McCaffrey, and I'm thinking about trading away Justin Jefferson, writing was on the wall. I mean, it's a super flex. My only 2 starting quarterbacks were Gardner Minshew and Russell Wilson. Yeah. The look on your face says it all. It was not going to go well for me. So I saw the writing on the wall. And what I do is I like to look for picks that one, if I'm trading for picks, I'm trying to find something that is going to be a little bit earlier. So I'm trying to find somebody that is maybe competing that would be more willing to try to buy the picks, but is on the low end of that competing scale. So like, for example, there was a guy that I went to first that he's ranked around 7 or 8, and he's really like a running back away from actually being able to get up into that 4 or 5 range. And so I was trying to get with him because I figured his pick would be a middle of the pack range. And depending on what happened with Christian McCaffrey, maybe it'd even be a little bit higher, so I like to gamble that a little bit. But I like to pay attention to what's going on with the rest of the guys, basically. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is you need to pay attention to what the rest of your league is doing and really have a good idea about what it is of where they're going to be finishing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If I'm winning, or if I'm competing, I should say, I'm going to continue trying to win. I'm going to continue to try to compete.
Yeah.
I have no problem trading away all my draft picks. That league, actually, that I had Christian McCaffrey and Justin Jefferson in, I had won that back-to-back. And the reason that I won that back-to-back was because I traded away all my draft capital both years and got pieces that I needed to make sure that I would be able to compete for the championship that year. Yeah. So, if you're going to go in for it, go all in my opinion. Like, don't just mess around and kind of, try to balance it out. I mean, it's good to balance it out. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to have draft picks. That's one of the best parts about fantasy or dynasty football is being able to draft. It's a lot of fun, but there's time to recoup those draft picks as the year goes on. There's time to recoup it while the draft is happening. If you wanted to do it that way, if you want to get back in, I was able to get back into the draft both those years and get somebody. So, really, it just comes down to paying attention to what it is that your team is doing, paying attention to what it is that the rest of the league is doing, and just shifting to that.
Yeah.
Dang it, there was something else that I was going to say, and I can't remember now.
It was Khalil Shakir.
It was Khalil Shakir. Yeah. Oh, no, actually, no. That's a good point. If you are trading away a top-end talent, the one thing that I'm mad about myself with the Christian McCaffrey trade is that I didn't get something back that I know is a top-end talent. All I got was picks and Hooker. Like, I'm not necessarily going to win anything off of those three pieces. Whereas with the Justin Jefferson trade that I was trying to make happen, I was definitely going to get back Malik Neighbors, which would have been a good receiver to replace Jefferson with. Not a great, they're not on the same talent level, but good. I would have gotten Jaden Daniels, which for a super flex would have been an awesome pickup. And then I would have had that first round pick that I could have went and played with in the draft this next year. So yeah, that's something big that a buddy of mine has been, my buddy Afton. I'm throwing his name out there because he's my guy, but he's always trying to preach to me that. And I'm like, you know what? You're totally right. Like, you got to make sure that you get something back that's actually worth it. Like, because picks are lottery picks. They're lottery tickets.
Yep.
Even your first round pick, if you have the 101, there's no guarantee that your 101 is going to be. I mean, look at Bryce Young. He was going in the top 3 last year.
Look at N'Keal Harry.
Look at N'Keal Harry. Right. Yeah. Like, you just don't know. You just don't know.
That's true.
We like to think that we do, and we're going to give our best guesstimation.
Yep.
You just don't know.
That is true. You just don't. And Rich, I mean, I think that's well said, and I think that is a good mindset to have. And everybody, with that, we have just finished yet another episode of Dynasty 365, and we thank you all for hanging out with us on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. Thank you guys very much. So big thanks to everybody who's supporting us, whether you're watching or listening. We are extremely grateful for that. And also, guys, again, like, our hearts and thoughts with everyone touched by 9/11. Like, if you'd like to honor the memory of 9/11 in a tangible way, you could consider donating to organizations like Tunnel to Towers, which supports the families of the fallen first responders. It is a really good charity, and you should look into that if you're interested in doing anything, touching in a more tangible way. So there's that. Also, guys, I want to thank you if you're on YouTube and you're watching, and thank you if you're listening to your favorite podcast platform. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. He is Rich Sickles, GBM, the Ginger Beard Man. And again, Rich, happy birthday. Thanks for hanging out with me on your birthday. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. And Jay-Z might have said that first, but I think I said it better. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Deviant. Also, you can find us, visit our website, fantasyandframes.com. Subscribe to us, to the show on YouTube or wherever you consume your favorite podcasts. While you're there, please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and leave us a review. We like to hear those. Also, hit that bell so you're notified whenever new content drops. And be sure to like all the Fantasy and Frame shows. We're Dynasty 365. We kick off the Fantasy and Frame Wednesdays, and we're here for all your Dynasty needs. Fourth and Frames, they follow us, and they're there for any redraft content that you might have. Behind that, my IDP gurus out there, you want to listen to these masters of IDP, shoot the gap, and they're getting you ready for all those defensive sides of the ball. And also tune in on Tuesdays for the Waiver Wire show, where the guys are going to help you be a master of the waiver wire and just acquire that talent that is just going to be chef's kiss when everybody's like, oh my God, how'd you know about that? And you just be like, the Waiver Wire show hooked me up. So again, thank you so much to our viewers, to our listeners, and those in the comments. Love seeing you guys. We appreciate you all. Good night, everybody. Take us out.